Kirk Cousins with 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown over the last 5 games? You mean that Kirk Cousins? You ACL injury or whatever? Have any faith in Kirk Cousins? Hell no.
There's no source on that because the Falcons have told us this. It's just we kind of like just didn't believe them, it feels like.
The Atlanta Falcons created the most expensive backup quarterback situation in NFL history, and it's absolutely imploding. Kirk Cousins sits on the bench with a $40 million cap hit, while second-year player Michael Penix Jr. leads the team, creating a financial catastrophe that has torn apart the organization and sparked explosive reactions across the NFL world. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how Kirk Cousins' contract might be crippling the Atlanta Falcons and how the Atlanta Falcons are trapped in this really tough situation. This is going to be a complete breakdown of how a $180 million contract became a cautionary tale of organizational dysfunction, hidden injuries, and the most dramatic quarterback controversy in recent memory. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications because we're going to be keeping you up to date with all of the coolest NFL offseason stories and training camp updates. And really quickly, this video is sponsored. When building a YouTube channel, you do start to rack up a lot of expenses. You combine my business with my day-to-day life expenses with my bills, and it could be a lot to manage on your own, which is why I partnered with Rocket Money. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance application that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. Rocket Money automatically analyzes your accounts to determine the optimal time to save so you can reach your goals faster. Choose your savings goal, pick a preferred savings frequency, and watch your savings start to grow. You can edit, pause, or withdraw at any time. With Rocket Money, you can create a customized budget in seconds. The app shows you where your money is going at all times and identifies top spending categories with insights on how you can stay within your budget better. Rocket Money will notify you about upcoming charges or when your balance is low to help you avoid overdrafts and late fees. Take control of your finances today. Go to rocketmoney.com/microphone to start for free. That's rocketmoney.com/microphone, or just download the app and use promo code microphone so you can start for free. And thank you, Rocket Money, for today's sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Just 6 weeks after signing Kirk Cousins to his massive 4-year deal with $100 million guaranteed, Atlanta shocked the football world by drafting Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick. Cousins wasn't even notified until the team was literally on the clock, setting the stage for a relationship destined for disaster. Now, after throwing a league-leading 16 interceptions and suffering through the worst statistical stretch of his career, Kirk Cousins has trapped the Atlanta Falcons in a self-imposed financial prison. And honestly, I don't know if it's that bad of a situation for Kirk Cousins. You see, Kirk Cousins didn't just have a bad season in 2024, he had a historically catastrophic collapse that justified one of the most expensive benchings in sports history. And the reason we didn't really talk about it on this channel is it's not nearly as bad as what the Cleveland Browns had to deal with last season. But after starting 6-2 and looking like the veteran presence Atlanta desperately needed, Kirk Cousins suffered what can only be described as a statistical meltdown. But not only was he suffering statistically, he really didn't pass the eye test as well. Early on in the season, it seemed like the velocity on Kirk Cousins' throws were not what they used to be when he was with Minnesota. My personal theory was he tore his Achilles tendon, which made it very difficult to plant that foot and drive the football the way he was able to do, and the numbers tell a devastating story. In his final 5 starts, Kirk Cousins threw 9 interceptions and just 1 touchdown pass, creating a nightmarish ratio that sealed his fate. More shocking was his unprecedented 4-game stretch from week 10 to 14, where he became the first quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger in 2005 to 2006 to throw 0 touchdown passes and 8 interceptions over 4 consecutive games. But the difference between Ben Roethlisberger and Kirk Cousins is this was the beginning of Ben Roethlisberger's career, and this was the end of Kirk Cousins. His overall 2024 statistics painted the picture of a quarterback in rapid decline. 453 passing attempts, 303 completions for a 66.9% completion percentage, 3,508 passing yards in the NFL, and 18 touchdowns in the NFL, and those 16 interceptions that led the league, despite him missing the final 3 games. His 88.6 passer rating and his 50.4 QBR was 23rd in the NFL, and it represented career low territory for a quarterback making $45 million per year. The breaking point came during a brutal stretch where Kirk Cousins had a passer rating below 80 in 7 of his 14 starts. He experienced 17 consecutive quarters without throwing a touchdown pass, a futility streak that had never been seen from a quarterback of his caliber and his contract status, obviously aside from Deshaun Watson. But when Kirk Cousins was finally benched on December 17, 2024, following a lackluster 112-yard performance against Las Vegas, it marked the end of one of the most expensive quarterback experiments in NFL history. The plot thickened dramatically in February of 2025 when Kirk Cousins revealed he had been playing through significant arm and shoulder injuries since week 10, which was exactly when his performance cratered. This revelation sent shockwaves through the organization and created a massive trust crisis between player and management. Cousins' admission that he was dealing with an arm and shoulder injury since week 10 versus the Saints coincided perfectly with the statistical decline. And here's the bombshell. Falcons GM Terry Fontenot claimed the organization was not aware that Cousins was struggling with an injury. This created an immediate firestorm of controversy about communication transparency and organizational competence. Chris Mad Dog Russo delivered one of the most explosive reactions to this news, absolutely fuming at the Atlanta Falcons front office for saying they were unaware of Kirk Cousins' injuries during the season. Russo called the situation absolutely unacceptable and blasted the front office for their handling of what should have been crucial information affecting both performance and long-term planning. The injury revelation added another layer to an already complex narrative. Was Kirk Cousins playing hurt and unable to perform at his usual level? Should the organization have known? Did this change the perception of his benching from performance-based to injury-related? These questions created even more drama around a situation that was already spiraling out of control. The timing couldn't have been worse for the Atlanta Falcons, who were already dealing with criticism for their handling of the quarterback room. Now they faced questions about their medical staff, communication protocols, and whether they had benched an injured player who's trying to play through pain for the team's benefit. The foundation of this entire catastrophe was laid on April 25th, 2024, when Atlanta delivered one of the most shocking draft picks in recent memory. Just 6 weeks after giving Kirk Cousins $100 million guaranteed, the Falcons stunned the NFL world by selecting Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick, a pick that was so unexpected that Bears general manager Ryan Poles laughed at the Atlanta Falcons when he realized he wouldn't have to trade up for Rome Odunze.
Michael Penix. Shane, you okay with this? Is it too much for you? You don't have to give up anything.
Bert, number 1, number 2 player though?
I mean, the man literally did a victory lap around the Atlanta Falcons for passing on Rome Odunze for Michael Penix Jr.
So you were expecting it?
No, I'm just happy it worked out that way.
But that's not it. A clip of Terry Fontenot needing to explain himself to Arthur Blank went absolutely viral following the draft pick. It was a pick that didn't make sense on paper. The Atlanta Falcons had just signed a veteran high-end quarterback to a contract paying him $100 million guaranteed, and then decided to reach on a 24-year-old quarterback with the 8th overall pick despite having numerous holes on their roster. The manner in which this unfolded was almost comically dysfunctional. Kirk Cousins had no advanced warning and wasn't notified until the Falcons were literally on the clock with their selection. His agent Mike McCartney's reaction perfectly captured the blindsiding nature of the decision, saying, "We had no idea this was coming. The truth is the whole league had no idea this was coming, and we got no heads up." The football world was bewildered. How do you invest $180 million in a quarterback, then immediately draft his replacement? Terry Fontenot's defense of the pick revealed the organization's long-term thinking, but also highlighted their poor communication, saying if you believe in a quarterback, you have to take him, and if he sits for 4 or 5 years, that's a great problem to have. This decision created instant tension and awkwardness in the quarterback room. Cousins' camp expressed frustration and confusion about not using the pick to help the team immediately in 2024, especially given the massive investment that they had just made in the veteran. The psychological impact on Cousins was immediate and obvious. He now knew the organization viewed him as a short-term solution despite the 4-year contract. And when you take a look at the entire division of the Atlanta Falcons, it's very clear clear why Kirk Cousins went there to begin with. He had a strong running back in Bijan Robinson. He had an above-average wide receiver core in the form of Drake London and Darnell Mooney. And he had an all-world tight end that, for some reason, doesn't want to play like an all-world tight end in Kyle Pitts. But I still probably will make the horrific mistake of drafting him this year in fantasy football because he's got to pop off eventually, right? I'm in such a toxic relationship with Kyle Pitts, I have to stop drafting him. And it can't just be me, is it? Now, in the Falcons' defense, the Michael Penix selection would prove to be prophetic, but not in the way that anyone expected. Rather than sitting for 4 or 5 years, as Fontenot suggested, Penix would be starting games within 8 months due to Cousins' spectacular decline, and that's what made this situation really spicy. When head coach Raheem Morris announced on December 17, 2024 that Michael Penix Jr. would be Atlanta's starting quarterback moving forward, it created the most expensive backup quarterback situation in NFL history. The financial implications are staggering and represent a cautionary tale about guaranteed money in professional sports. Cousins' 2025 financial situation reads like a salary cap nightmare. $27.5 million guaranteed in base salary, $40 million cap hit, and $65 million in dead money if released. To put this in perspective, the $65 million dead money hit would be the second largest in NFL history, trailing only Russell Wilson's $85 million disaster. The complexity of moving Cousins is mind-boggling. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Atlanta has been privately asking potential trade partners to pay $20 million of the $45 million worth of guarantees left on Cousins' contract, but no team is expected to be willing to meet these demands. This made Cousins' contract effectively untradeable according to multiple NFL insiders, and it gets way worse. Adding to the complexity is Cousins' no-trade clause, which gives him the power to veto any potential deal. He was reportedly waiting until after the 2025 NFL draft to evaluate destinations, wanting to avoid being blindsided again with the team drafting a rookie quarterback early. This clause transforms him from an asset into a player with significant leverage despite his backup status. The dead money implications create impossible choices for Atlanta. If they had cut him before June 1st, they would have faced a $65 million dead money hit. So you would think they would wait until after June 1st so they could spread out the remainder of his salary, but even that doesn't look good. The Falcons are still going to absorb $40 million in 2025 plus $25 million in 2026. Even in a trade scenario, they would have had to eat $37.5 million in dead money pre-June 1st or $12.5 million plus future obligations now that it's post-June 1st. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated perfectly captured the absurdity, calling Cousins an expensive second-string quarterback that the Falcons can't give away if they tried. The organization finds itself paying superstar money for a backup while desperately trying to find someone willing to take on even a portion of the financial burden. But my favorite part about all this is it's generated some of the most explosive and entertaining media reactions in recent NFL memory. I mean, listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say in his criticism here.
Kirk Cousins with 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown over the last 5 games? You mean that Kirk Cousins? You ACL injury or whatever? Have any faith in Kirk Cousins? Hell no.
And Smith's criticism extends beyond just performance to Cousins' overall value as a franchise QB, saying if we're going to sit up there and say that the Dallas Cowboys don't really have a legit shot at being in the Super Bowl, how are we going to turn it around with a team led by Kirk Cousins? The contempt in his delivery has become must-see TV for NFL fans. The Pat McAfee Show has provided some of the most insightful coverage, with Ian Rappaport delivering a reality check that captured the situation perfectly.
Or this goes, I kind of think he's going to be the Falcons' backup. There's no source on that because the Falcons have told us this. It's just we kind of just didn't believe them, it feels like.
NFL insider Jordan Schultz dropped a bombshell on Fox Sports' Speak that sent shockwaves through Atlanta. I've had players inside the locker room tell me point blank that Michael Penix Jr. is the best quarterback in this building. And this wasn't just one player's opinion. Schultz indicated that multiple unnamed players prefer Penix over Cousins, creating an uncomfortable dynamic for both quarterbacks. And the revelation gets even more dramatic. And now anonymous GM sources have provided even more explosive details about the organization's internal struggles. One source told Schultz that they're all in on Penix. He's their guy. They love him, but they can't keep Cousins. They just can't. So I think Fontenot is trying to find a trade partner willing to take on at least part of Kirk's salary. And the front office dysfunction extends to the very top of the organization. Owner Arthur Blank made significant structural changes, moving CEO Rich McKay away from football activities and eliminating the middleman between ownership and football operations. GM Terry Fontenot and head coach Raheem Morris Norris now report directly to Arthur Blank, suggesting previous communication issues. So with that being said, what does Kirk Cousins' future look like at this point? His trade market represents one of the most complex and constrained situations in recent NFL history, with multiple factors conspiring to create what appears to be an unmovable contract despite desperate organizational desire to find a solution. Aaron Rodgers' decision to sign with Pittsburgh eliminated what many considered Cousins' best potential landing spot. ESPN's Adam Schefter had previously reported that there is a feeling around the league that a team, whether it is the Vikings or Steelers, might be willing to pay down roughly $10 million of Cousins' contract, with Pittsburgh being the most frequently mentioned destination before Rodgers had signed. The Cleveland Browns were another rumored option due to head coach Kevin Stefanski's previous relationship with Cousins as his offensive coordinator in Minnesota. However, Cleveland's selection of multiple quarterbacks in the 2025 draft in the form of Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders significantly reduced their need for an expensive veteran. The most significant obstacle isn't just financial, it's Kirk Cousins' no trade clause, which gives him unprecedented leverage despite his backup status. He can veto any trade attempt, and reports suggest that he's waiting until after the 2025 NFL draft to evaluate potential destinations, wanting to avoid being blindsided again with the team immediately drafting his replacement. Trade compensation discussions have centered around modest returns, with Josina Anderson reporting that a third-round pick has been floated in discussions, though ESPN analysis suggests a late-round pick is way more realistic given Cousins' age, recent performance, and contract burden. The quarterback market fundamentally shifted after the 2025 draft saw 14 quarterbacks selected, filling most teams' needs through cheaper rookie options. This created a supply and demand problem that further limited Cousins' market value and potential destinations. So Ian Rappaport's assessment as to how the Falcons handled this situation captures reality perfectly. Pretty much every time a quarterback gets hurt, the Falcons are going to be like, hey, look at the guy that we got. But as injuries haven't materialized and teams have found alternative solutions, Atlanta remains stuck with their expensive backup. I can't emphasize how disastrous Kirk Cousins' contract is enough. His contract structure reveals the dangerous nature of guaranteed money in NFL deals. His $50 million signing bonus creates $37.5 million in dead money. That stays with Atlanta regardless of what happens next. This means that even in the best case trade scenario, the Falcons cannot escape significant financial pain. As the 2025 season approaches, the Kirk Cousins situation continues evolving in ways that highlight the uncomfortable reality facing both player and organization. The most recent developments paint a picture of a professional attempting to make the best of an impossible situation while his employer desperately seeks an exit strategy. Cousins' attendance pattern tells the story of a player managing his leverage carefully. He surprisingly attended voluntary workouts in April 2025, which caught a lot of people off guard given the obvious tension. Then he skipped voluntary OTAs in May of 2025, sending a clear message about his dissatisfaction with his current role. And then mandatory camp arrived in June of 2025, and Cousins attended and committed to his team role, demonstrating the professionalism that coaches have consistently praised. That, and I don't think it's the worst gig on earth getting paid $100 million to ride the bench. That's like Alex Moran's wet dream. At the end of the day, this is a storyline that we're going to be keeping tabs on for the rest of the season because it's an absolute disaster. It's great that the Atlanta Falcons found their quarterback of the future in Michael Penix, but they essentially handcuffed him with the amount of salary that they're paying his backup. All this money invested in Kirk Cousins means that the Falcons are limited in taking advantage of Michael Penix Jr.'s rookie scale contract. They can't improve his offensive line. They can't sign quality free agents in order to fill the holes in their roster. They're very limited in contract negotiations with their players that have contract extensions upcoming. And the saddest part of all is they're actually competitive in their division despite these limitations. But the fact that they're this limited is the difference between them just making it to the NFL playoffs this year and then potentially being Super Bowl contenders. On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers has changed everything for the Pittsburgh Steelers on the football field. But at the same time, he may have just picked his next victim. We have two videos on Aaron Rodgers, one discussing how he changes the Pittsburgh Steelers from a football perspective or how he could potentially destroy them off of the field. Both of these videos are going to be in the end screen. I'll meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.